God, man. I may never walk alone. God is always in control, and in all the things I do. Yo, Price Wayne. And the blessings coming soon. I can feel it in my bone. I was young, but now I'm grown. Never yet lose my faith, dog. Me never yet lose my way. Cause I jog.
All praises to the Most High. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom to my lovely sisters, to my lovely royal family. I'm Sister Nasia. We have here today a couple of sisters in the building with me. Anybody want to introduce themselves or say hi?
Hi. Shalom. I'm Sister Yvonne.
All praises. So,
Shalom, I'm Destiny.
Shalom, Sister Ivana. Shalom, Sister Desi. And we have my little nephew Silas on the
Shalom.
screen. All praises, Sister Kalaya. We just wanted to jump on here real quick, and it was in the spirit. The spirit is moving. With talking about having faith over fear. But I'm gonna title this particular lesson to have faith or let go, right? So have faith or become salty, literally. You have faith or become salty. And we're going to get into why I titled it that way. All right. First and foremost, I don't know, Sister Ivana, if you have your book, if you want to read Titus chapter 2, verse 3 to 5.
Okay. Titus chapter 2, verse 3. The aged woman likewise, that they be in behavior as is in coming in the fear of Yahuwah, not false accusers, not giving to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their men, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own men, that the word of Yahuwah be not blasphemed.
Khan, our praises to what it says. So we always start out with that as a staple, just that's how we should operate as women. And also these lessons that we bring out on this channel are for women. Okay, we're not trying to edify our men. All right. So again, the title of this lesson today pretty much is having faith over fear, or to have faith or become salty. So this is gonna be real quick. So when you do not have faith, you become what? If you don't have faith, you become
Salty or bitter.
thank you, that's a good word. You become fearful, right? That's the word we're using today. Fearful, but in turn, that fear in turn makes you bitter, like you said, or praises, resentful. All right. It can make you hostile and angry. Right? Fearfulness fearfulness would stir up all that other stuff because you're in fear. So when you live in fear, all these things will come about. Okay. Oh, this is gonna happen. Oh, or your whatever scenario in your life is happening, it will make you exude these things. You're gonna be angry, whether it is you think something in your mind towards another sister. Maybe you fear that her cake is gonna be better than yours this Sabbath day, or maybe she gonna be Lord help me. Or you fear that maybe your husband might step on, and that's a fear. So in turn, if you're thinking that, now you're gonna have an angry spirit towards him, a resentful spirit, an angry, irritated spirit, because you're moving in fear. Okay. For whatever reason, fear that your kids might go out there and do the opposite of what you're teaching them. Well, and you and we're gonna get into the fact that you can have a level of fear, but you have to know how to overcome that fear, okay, and know how to move in it. Because sometimes fear makes you do the things you need to do, like fear of God. We need to fear the Most High, and the way we fear the Most High is keeping His laws, statutes, and commandments. Okay, so I don't want to jump ahead, but again, if you're not having any faith and you're being fearful, you will become resentful, hostile, angry, irritated, hateful, in turn bitter. You'll end up alone, single. Okay, and if you're single, you don't have that covering, that protection. All right, and then and in turn, you just end up suffering in the long run. Okay, because bitterness leads to suffering. You ever heard about that black angry woman? And if she is angry, she's suffering somewhere along the line. She's suffering. You're not happy and bitter. Okay, you're not faithful and angry at the same time. They just don't go. Okay,
They don't mix.
exactly. They do not mix. So the Most High did not give us that spirit of fear. So I want to bring out an example of that in, I'm gonna be in my Enoch, Joshua, and Jubilees book for just a little bit, just to bring out an example of not having faith. So if you guys have the book or the PDF or the app, Jubilees chapter 14. And for those who don't know, Jubilees, Joshua, and Enoch were written in the original KJV, I believe 1611.
Yeah.
All in there. Okay, consist. It was all in there before our oppressors took it out and split it up into different books. The Apocrypha and these were in that book. Okay, so Jubilees chapter 14. Let me get it right. Let me get it right. Let me get it right. And then I have verse 19 to 24. So you have that book, sis? Ivana?
Yes, I just got this big book, so I have to flip through a lot of pages.
Got you. All right, I'll read it. So I'm in Jubilees chapter 14, and I'm gonna read from 19 to 24, just so we could get the gist of the story. I don't want to just read exactly, the meat of it, and you be lost. So verse 19 says, "And the day passed, and Abraham offered the pieces and the birds and their fruit offerings, drink offerings, and fire devoured them. And on that day he made a covenant with Abraham, according as we had covenanted with Noah in this month, and Abraham renewed the festival and ordinance for himself forever. Abraham rejoiced and made all these things known to Sarah, his wife, and he believed that he would have seed. He believed that he would have seed, but she did not bear. And Sarah advised her husband Abraham and said to him, Go into Hagar, my Egyptian maid. It may be that I shall build up seed unto thee through her. And Abram hearkened unto the wife of his of his wife Sarah, and said unto her, Do so. And Sarah took Hagar, bring the handmaid, the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband Abraham to be his wife. And he went in unto her, and she conceived and bare him a son, and called his name Ishmael, in the 5th year of this week. And he was 88, he was 86 year in the life of Abraham. So real short and sweet, what we're reading here is that Abraham was told that he would have seed with his wife, but Sarah did not believe that would happen because she was not bearing. Okay, sometimes things happen in life, and we don't see it happening right away. we don't see, okay, we don't see the fruits of our labor maybe right away. You might plant an orange tree, and because you don't see it grow up and bear fruit that very next year or two, whenever they say it's supposed to bear, you're like, you quick to chop down a tree, or maybe it ain't gonna never grow nothing. You know what I'm saying? When if you had just waited maybe another 6 months or a year or so, you would have been able to feed the whole neighborhood off of that orange tree. You know what I'm saying? So that lack of faith, okay, in this situation here, pushed Sarah to say, you know what, I ain't getting pregnant yet. The Lord told you I'm gonna get pregnant. I ain't seeing it. It's been a year, 2 years. We don't know how long exactly. We just, it's been 6 months, Abraham. I ain't pregnant yet. It's been a year. Maybe it was 5 years. I ain't pregnant yet. But the Most High said these things was gonna happen. He didn't tell you when. He don't need to tell you when. We're just supposed to operate in faith. Okay.
Yes.
So in turn, she gave the handmaid over to the husband. All right. That is one way of not having any fear. And then if we all know the story, and if you don't, please go ahead and read. We're not going to read it here on this lesson today. Please go ahead and read the story of surrounding what happened after that, because she and Sarah ended up becoming a little bit salty and bitter because she saw how much Abraham had loved his son that he had with the handmaid. you know, she's kicked Hagar out. Nah, you can't be around you. She was bitter. She was a, you know how you're gonna be if there's another woman around and your husband's like, come on now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So these are
Yeah.
the situations you create for yourself. These are the things you create for yourself when you do not walk in faith, but you have that fear. All right. She was angry with and resentful at both of them, like as if you wasn't the one that came up with the whole situation that they should sleep together. How you gonna be angry now? You know what I'm saying? All right.
Yeah.
No, so that's an example of not having any faith. Let's go to Jubilees chapter 17. And sis, if you have that, Sister Ivana, Jubilees chapter 17, verse 4-8.
4-8. Okay.
And
All
this is
right. I'm
going
gonna
to
do my
be,
best because these.
huh?
Go ahead, sis.
No, I
Sorry.
was going to say
No.
this is an example of when someone is exuding faith, someone is showing their faith to the Father. So, chapter 17, verse
Okay.
4-8.
17, verse 4. And Sarah saw Ishmael playing and dancing, and Abraham rejoicing with great joy, and she became jealous of Ishmael and said to Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman will not be heir with my son Isaac. And the thing was grievous to Abraham in Abraham's sight, because of his maidservant and because of his son, that he should drive them from him. And Elohim said to Abram, let it not be grievous in your sight because of the child and because of the bondwoman. And all that Sarah has said unto you, hearken to her words and do them. For in Isaac shall your name and seed be called. But as for the son of this bondwoman, I will make him a great nation, because he is of your seed. And Abraham rose up early. Oh, I'm sorry.
And then we're going to jump to 15 and then 17 through 18.
15, 17 through 18. Okay. Verse 15, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the prince, okay. Now, I'm sorry. And the prince Nestema came and said before Elohim, behold, Abraham loves
No,
Isaac,
no,
his
Salakia
son.
says,
I'm sorry.
Salakia says, verse 15.
Salaki.
Is that what your verse 15 says?
Yeah, maybe this
Okay.
version is reading a little different.
Yeah, and it does. So so I'll read it what it has here. Yours might be one up, maybe verse 14. It says, and it came to pass in the 7th week, in the first year
Yeah,
thereof. Okay.
yeah.
In the first month in this jubilee, on the 12th of this month, there were voices in heaven regarding Abraham, that he was faithful in all that the Most High told him, and that he loved the Lord, in that every affliction he was faithful. All right. So I'm gonna read verse 17 and 18 now, but real quick to back up what we just read in verses 4 to 8. All right. Again, we saw here in verse 4 and 5 how it grieves Sarah of this thing now, because she didn't have enough faith. Now he has a son with another woman, that she became jealous. That fear will lead to jealousy also, okay? Jealous of this son and wanted to cast out this bondwoman. Now, again, I said that these verses will show on the opposite spectrum that Abraham had faith. So in verse 6 and 7, we read that the Most High said to Abraham, let it not be grievous in your sight. Don't let it get you down. Don't let it irk you. Okay, like we say in the islands. Okay, because of the child and the bondwoman. Don't fret. He says, in all that Sarah is telling you, hearken unto her words. Do what she's saying. Okay. For in Isaac, the son that you have with your wife, in thy seed shall be called. So the Most High is telling Abraham, listen, go ahead and do what your wife is saying. Get rid of Hagar for a short, get rid of her. I'm going to do something I'm going to bless him. Although he's being sent to, I'm going to bless him. But in your seed, in Isaac's seed, should it be called. So the amount of faith Abraham had to have right now, like, because it said in verse 5, the thing was grievous in Abraham's sight. Who wants to send their son away because their wife have a problem? Okay, who wants to do that? But the Most High, Abraham hearkened and was faithful unto the Most High to send his own son out into the wilderness. Send your own son. You know the level of faith you have to do that. But he gonna
Yes.
cover. You see what I'm saying? Cover them, and he gonna be good. Shoot, I don't know if we made like that today. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna get into a little bit more of that, because some of us will have to leave family behind to do what the Most High is telling us to do. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
he's listened to the Father in verse 6 and 7. Listen to me. Okay. Don't let it be grievous. Have faith in me. Let them go. Let them go. All right. So verse 17, verse 15, like we just read, Abraham was faithful in all that the Most High told him. He was faithful. Abraham didn't say, you know what? Eh, I don't know. That's my child. I don't know, Lord. Is the Lord really speaking to me? That can't be him. They ain't telling. You know what I'm saying? Nah, that's another voice. That's another voice. That ain't the Most High. You know? Or let me
Mhm.
sit back and really pray on this. Pray on it, okay? But he moved. He moved when the Most High say move, because he had already know that what the Father had told him from before. He already knew that the Father had told him, listen, in your seed, with your wife, through your wife, will your seed be called. So even though he listened, hearkened to his wife, okay, which is another lesson for another time, but which is why a lot of us women need to just shut up sometimes, okay, and just wait, okay. We just need to just hush. Um, even though he had a son with this other woman, he knew what the Father had told him from before. All right. So verse 17 and 18, which might be 16 and 17 for you, sis, I believe. It says, and the Lord knew that Abraham was faithful in all his afflictions. Afflictions, remember that. For he tried him through his country and with famine, and he tried him with the wealth of kings, and had tried him again through his wife that we just read. And when she was torn from him, and with circumcision, and tried him through Ishmael and Hagar, his maidservant, when he sent them away. So there was another time when he was tried. It says all these times he was tried and he remained faithful. When there was the wealth of kings, he still stayed true to the Most High. He tried him through his wife. I believe there was a time, if I'm not mistaken, where they passed through a country and he had told the Egyptians, I believe at the time, I might be wrong, it was a heathen nation, that his wife was his sister, not his wife. And it could have went left. Okay. But right. When it says when she was torn from him and with circumcision, and tried him through Ishmael and Hagar, his maidservant, when she sent them away. So the Most High will try you. Okay. Most High does not tempt you with evil, but he will try you throughout your life, whether it's through your wife. We know that with even Job. As a sidebar, real quick, Job was tried through his wife when he was going through all the famine he went through. His children died. I think all of them died like at the same time or something, tragically. And his wife was like, sure, I'm gonna paraphrase what she said, but dude, this is the God you believe in? Curse this God. This is the God you believe in? My God wouldn't do that. Not my Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And Job was like, you silly, foolish woman. You know what I'm saying? You have to stand strong because we don't know. We don't have the eyes that the Most High have to see, not even two steps in front of us. We don't know. We are being controlled by the Most High. Okay. We don't control our steps. He does. You have something, sis? No?
And I was gonna say another example too is with Abigail, with her husband. I mean, she could have just feared and just took the
And not gave him all the sheep and oxen. And
yeah,
not gave they
and
right. And that would have been her moving but she had that level of faith that if
yes.
I do this, I will save my husband. She did it to save her husband, not to usurp authority like some people would say, not to do the opposite, but to save her husband's life. To save her husband's life. Okay, because she knew at the end of the day, and again, this is maybe another topic, she knew that her husband was a little bit foolish. That was his name. Nabal means fool. She knew it was a little bit foolish.
Nabal, yeah.
Right. Which means foolish. So, you know, um, and then verse 18, still in the book of Jubilees 17, verse 18, and in everything wherein he tried him, he was found faithful. His soul was not impatient, and he was not slow to act. He was faithful and a lover of the Lord. Those are key words there. Let me write those down because you have to have patience. All right. And you cannot, what is the word? You cannot make what is it? Make haste and delay not. You must make haste and delay not. Okay. So he was not slow to act. So patience, and it's something we have to work on. But again, we can't work on these things if we don't recognize it. You can't work on having faith if there is no fear, really. You can't work on having faith if there is not some level of fear. For example, And in turn, it will make you realize that you shouldn't be fearful. But again, my example in increasing your faith, if there's not a little bit of fear there, I fear the Most High so much that I would not break his laws, statutes, and commandments. Like, I won't be caught out there wearing tights that show my shape and all this other stuff, because I fear that he might smite me right there, or I fear that this is what I'm showing my daughters, so they will become as such, which is prostituting your daughter, right? That's what the books say. I fear this is going to happen to them, so this is why I'm going to increase my faith and 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 overcome this fear. So now that I'm moving in my faith, I no longer fear that he will smite me. I no longer fear that my daughters will succumb to the way I used to dress, being a piece of meat, and we all know what happens after that, because I overcome that. Now, if your daughters want to do so, it won't be because you were living in fear, but because you were living in faith. You see that? Because everybody has a fork in the road that they have to choose at this time. Over the age of accountability, you got to choose this day: dress modest or dress immodestly. Okay. But let me get back on track. So he was faithful in everything that he told him. We some of us right now, we have to let's see, maybe you're not getting pregnant. Maybe what's another example? Maybe you're not in the house you want to be in right now, because I see your hand, sis. You got some, Sister Kalaya?
I was gonna say Hebrews 11:1.
All right, you got it. Or you want me to bring it up? Okay,
You can bring it up.
all right. Hebrews 11:1. If anybody get it before me, I got it. All right. It says, now faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. All praises. All praises. And I'll precept that with 2 Corinthians verse 4 and 18. While we look not at the things which are seen with your natural naked carnal eyes, but the things that are not seen. For the things that are seen are temporary. This thing behind me that my husband built for the hose, that's temporary. This little tent we got over here, that's temporary. The RV we living in, that's temporary. You know, the car you bought last year, okay? The butt enhancements you put in there, your wig, your lace front wig, everything is temporary. These are things that you can see, okay? Your job, all of that's temporary. So while we look at the things that are seen, but at the things that are not seen, for the things that are seen are temporal, but the things that are not seen are eternal. Just to precept that verse you gave us, sis. They are eternal. Okay, they are treasured up with the Most High. They are treasured up with the Most High. You can't see my kudos. You can't see them until you get, and if you make it to the kingdom, then you'll see them. But right here and there, all it is going to be consumed. It's temporary. You know how many jobs I've been through? And I was at one of them that I thought was going to be there for, not forever, but I thought it was going to be there for a long time. And I was probably there for 6 months. You know, it was temporary. I had some pretty earrings. There was solid gold, hibiscus earrings. And I thought that was going to be an heirloom I could pass it down to my kids. I ain't seen them things since I was 16. Carnal examples, but again, they're all carnal things. Okay. What you have, what you're treasuring, what you're building up with the Father, your faith, your walk in this faith is built because along your walk, you are showing to yourself, you're showing to your sisters, to your children, to your husbands, to your community, that you can walk like Christ did. Okay, we are not perfect, but we have to strive to be perfect. And the only way to do that is to do what the Father say. The only way to do that is to not have fear, but have faith so you can move on. Not be fearful that, oh, I can't get up the next day. I can't walk out this door and do what I need to do. I can't get up and I just can't bake this cake. I've been trying for 6 months and I can't get it right. Well, you'll never get it right because you're not having any faith. You won't never get the promotion at the job because you don't have faith that you can that there is better for you. Maybe not how you think it might come about, maybe not how you think it'll come about, but you have to walk in faith so things can happen, so the most high can move through you, because he doesn't move through anybody or anyone that is fearful. He's not going to move through a bottle of fear, a body full of fear. He doesn't give us that spirit. So how can the Holy Spirit dwell in a fearful temple? Okay? I see you, sis. You got something? You're muted.
I was going to say too, another scripture that falls in place in that, if Galatians chapter 5, and the fruit of the spirit, because and a part of that is having faith as well, and in order to overcome that fear, you have to have those things in place.
The fruits of the spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Khan, did you want to bring that out real quick?
Yes, like I say, that's Galatians chapter 5.
All right.
22 through 23.
All right.
And it says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, belief, meekness, temperance. And against all such, there is no law put in place. So, like I say, that equates with the fear thing too. You got to believe, even if you walk into these, you got to believe. And fear is not part of that.
It sure ain't. It is not. All praises. So with that, I talk about marriages a lot because a lot of us are married in here. But even if you're not married, we still need to know these things, because you probably will be. And even if you're not, you're still part of the body. You're still in a woman's position. Okay. You still have leadership. You still have headship. You still have your protectors, your brethren. Okay. So we have our heads. Some of us, our husbands are heads. He is the head. Your elder is the head. The leaders, they're the guiders, the protectors. They're supposed to be the problem solvers. Doesn't mean that we don't have maybe a suggestion or input into the planning of it, but at the end of the day, you still have to go. Even in a job, you might have thought of a better way to do something, but at the end of the day, if your boss say this is how we're gonna do it, this is how it's gonna be done. Okay. So having no faith or being fearful of your head, your leadership, having no faith in your leadership to lead you or your household how you feel it should be done. Okay. Again, Sarah felt a certain type of way. She was leading in fear, in her feelings. Okay. We don't have time around here to be in our feelings around here. We got not feelings, but in faith. If you're in your feelings, then you're fearful. Okay. So if you have fear, your leadership of your husband and the way he lead, that it ain't to your standards of how it should be, all right, that will cause all these things to trickle down that we just mentioned: the friction, the anger, the for like example, when your husband might not be making as much money that you feel he need to be making to take care of the bills and do this and buy another car and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, he's working. He's working. He's providing. It might not be getting you the Gucci bag you want. It might not be an upgrade on that new car, but he is working. The Most High is let the Most High work through him and build him up where he needs to be. Okay, it's not for us to say, well, this ain't working. Who are you? That's what Sarah did. Listen, this ain't working. I ain't getting pregnant. Go sleep with my handmaid. You know what I'm saying? Hey, hubby, this ain't working. I feel like you need to go get 2 more jobs. You know? But what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? He got faith because he out there working, but what you doing?
Some people started trying to God trying to push him, trying to make
Con.
his work faster
You know what
than he
I'm saying?
wanted to.
You like a slave driver around here. But you're right, sis, pushing God's hand. And sometimes we don't see the Most High might be trying to move him into a different position at a different job. While you here trying to get him to break his back on this one job, he might be trying to get him somewhere else. But he can't focus because you ain't in the spirit. So it's throwing his spirit out. Just like it kind of did with Abraham. Like, damn, you out the spirit, you want me to sleep with Hagar? All right. We know the we know he was in the spirit, so the Most High bring things back around. But at the end of the day, we as wives, we have to be there. We have to spend less time trying to lead. We shouldn't be spending any time leading, really. Spend less time trying to be the leader, okay? And spend less time trying to fix the problem when we should be spending more time encouraging and strengthening them. Okay, again, I fell short in this way, and that's why I wanted to really bring this out, because we find ourselves doing it not knowing that we're doing it because we've been so used to doing it. Okay, but yes, less time trying to lead. I know it's hard, but that's what the book said we got to do. So if we ain't doing it, we're not being obedient. More time praying and encouraging to strengthen our men, to strengthen them, and strengthen your head, and increase to help increase his faith. Okay, that the Most High will come through with that prayer. He gonna come through. He told my husband, I am gonna get pregnant. So damn, it's been 3 years, but I know it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen because I have faith. You know what I'm saying? He didn't tell me what day it was gonna be. He didn't tell us when he coming back. We don't know when the Most High coming back, but guess what? We gotta be faithful until the end, right? You know.
Mhm.
You had something to see, Ivana?
This is something that we did also in our readings, talking about sometimes we also have to realize, now you say stepping, having fear in that faith. And sometimes the Most High says, and we read this in the book that we're reading, sometimes you have to accept the no from the Most High when doing it, and it might not mean a no right here, no right now, in the now time. Maybe he's got some plan for you, but don't let fear set in because the Most High told me no. Don't mean I can't, do it. It's just maybe not at that time. You're not
Right.
ready.
Right.
But you keep your mind conditioned to be able to move when he does say it without that fear.
That's big. That's big because we might think we're ready for something, and then when we get that something, we don't know what the heck to do with it. Just like our marriages. We want to be married. We want to be married so much. Oh, the truth. I'm in the truth. I could have love. My marriage is honorable, but yet you don't know how to boil rice. You don't know how to make the bed. You don't know how to do the wifely duties. Dang, I should have did all of this before I got married. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just as an example. You know what I mean? We don't realize the amount of we just gotta be, like you said, it might not be now, but what can we be doing meanwhile to prepare ourselves for these for if the Most High put it in my hands? You know what I'm saying? when the Most High comes through, when he ready, I'm gonna be ready because I'm gonna get myself ready. So all the time Sarah could have been prepping herself, just getting her womb ready. Eating nuts and berries, whatever it is, giving Abraham some sea moss. I don't okay. All right. So yes, let we need to let go of the reins and let God work through our leadership. All right, work through our husbands. All right, so let's go to let's go to the book of Joshua. I'm almost done. Book of Joshua, chapter 19. Ooh, who told me I don't need my glasses? Book of Joshua, chapter 19, verse 52 and 53. That might be 51 and 52 for you, sis, because mine says, all right, read it so we could get a little bit of the gist of what's going on here. Verse 52, and he overthrew these cities, all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities, that which grew upon the ground. And Ado, the wife of Lot, looked back to see the destruction of the cities, for her compassion was moved on the account of her daughters who remained in Sodom, for they did not go with her. So if you guys don't know, and again, go back and read the chapter, please. But if you don't know, when the Most High sent the angels to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, right? There was other cities also. Sodom and Gomorrah is just the cities that were in that area at the time. So he sent to get Lot and his family out of harm's way. Okay. And so what we're reading here, Lot's wife, her name was Ado. For those who don't know, I don't know if it's short for something, but it was Ado. She looked back. Now, if you remember the story, and again read back, remember that the angel told them to flee and don't do what?
Look.
Don't look back. Don't look back. All right. But that's what she did. Because she had daughters that were still there. They didn't hearken on to what they were saying to leave. She had daughters that were still there. But for whatever reason, daughter or no daughter, she looked back. She was in fear. She was in fear for her own children. And rightly so, because again, you only, I mean, come on, she's a mom. You know what I'm saying? But when the Most High is telling you to do something, you're either going to do it or you're going to become resentful, hostile, angry, bitter, irritated, alone, single, salty, like she just did. In verse 53, and when she looked back, she became a pillar of salt, and it is yet in that place unto this day. Okay? She moved in fear. She didn't have that faith. She didn't have that faith. And that's a hard thing, because yes, at that point you know that, okay, well, if she ain't gone, if she ain't flee out of Sodom, they're gonna die. But that's the Most High's will. It doesn't matter who it is, your husband, your wife, your children that are above the age of accountability. If they are not doing the things that the Most High say do, you can't. Who's gonna deliver them in the Most High's wrath? It's a fearful thing to be in the hands of the Father. Okay, so that's an example of not having that faith, because she could have been there. She could have been there with her husband, quite possibly, right?
Yeah.
Or at least not been a pillar of salt to this day. All right. Genesis, sis, if you could bring out Genesis chapter 19, verse 14. I just want to show because someone had stated they never heard about why Lot's wife had looked back, but it says it in the King James Version, the Bible. It says in Genesis 19, verse 14.
Okay.
Just just
Genesis
just
chapter
to
19, verse 14.
just to precept what we just read in Jasher, that she had daughters that had stayed behind. They didn't just have the two daughters that flee with them that were still in their household. So Genesis 19, verse 14.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, you have it?
Yes. Genesis 19, verse 14.
Fine.
And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his own sons-in-law.
Fine. So there we read. He went out and spake to his sons-in-law. So if the two daughters that were in his house that we read back here, if you read the story, the backstory, his two daughters that were still dwelling with him had never known man. They were virgins. How could he have sons-in-law? Okay, so he had two other daughters in Sodom. That's how he had sons-in-law. And he went to warn them, listen, let's go. Let's get out of here. They wanted to stay in their captivity. They wanted to stay in their sin, right? So
Yeah.
there go Lot. Lot had the faith to do what? Listen, these my two daughters, but that's their head now. They got husbands, that's their head. I can only warn you. And he had the faith to move with the father. Listen, if I go, that means my daughters quite possibly gonna be left behind and they're gonna get consumed with fire. But if the Most High say move, I got to do what? Move. I got to move. Go ahead, sis. I see your hand. You got something? Desi, you got something?
You was talking. I was coughing. I like my phone and I put my hand over my mouth.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's another level of fear that I don't even listen, that we need to know and pray for, that we need to have in these days. Because you can imagine leaving your children behind when Babylon about to burn. Are you going to have the fear when that time comes? How we know ain't everybody going. You already know. You could think of one person right now at the top of your head in your family close to you that they ain't gonna budge. It don't matter what you're telling them. They ain't gonna budge. And you're gonna have to leave he or she behind and pack your things if you even got time, because you might not got time, and go and leave them there.
I will leave them.
And if you don't do that, you're gonna be resentful because you're gonna fall into a ditch. You wasn't following the father, so you're gonna be resentful and angry that dang, I should have followed the father. Now I'm stuck in Babylon, the gates closed. You know, they're giving people injections left and right. The RF for what is it? The mark of the beast, all this stuff, whatever. You're resentful now because you didn't leave when the Most High told you to. Now you angry, bitter, irritated, alone, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's an example on the two ends again. How his wife was moving in fear. She looked back, and how Lot moved in faith of the father. Moved in faith. He was so fearful of the father that he had so much faith that he didn't even look back to see if his wife was still there. He didn't even look back. You know, like dang, you thinking as a wife, damn, he didn't even look to see if I was still there. No, he didn't even look to see if you was still there. Chances.
And another thing to add to this fear thing, whether we can see it or not, there's two type of fears. You got the fear that a fearing of Yahuwah, and then you got the fear that where it makes you slothful and moving, doubtful, and all those things. So the fear that we want to consume to intake is the fear of Yahuwah,
Right.
but that other fear we need to set aside.
Right. That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. You need to have that fear in the Father that's gonna make you straighten up and do what you need to do. You got to fear the Father. That's what he said, literally. Do these things to Israel right here out here in the wilderness so they could fear me. I fear my Father because I don't want him to smack my, you know what I'm saying? No, sir. I need to show it more that I fear my Father because I be letting fear consume me sometimes. But see that pressure, the bust pipes. When that time come, I ain't gonna have no room for none of this. I gonna be turned into a uh, pillar of salt or looking like a piece of charcoal on the ground. you know. So yes, two different types of it. That fear in the Father will make you do what you need to do and obey Him. That faith in man, I mean that fear in man, okay, will have you backsliding and doing all this other stuff. Con. So there's gonna come a time when we have to let go of our family and walk in God's will and His way, for His plans, not our plans. Some of us have plans that we think we're still gonna be building up our white picket fences in Babylon, in America, Babylon, UK, whatever it is, for the next 20 years. For the next 20 years, it might be God's plan that you might be needing to leave in 2 days. So, are you gonna walk in fear? And no, 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 no. I'm building this house here. I got no, like I can't leave. I can't leave my mama behind. Your mama that's eating pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, and don't give a dang about this book. You know, I can't leave my daughters behind. Your daughters, the ones over there that keep throwing it down like it's hot on the Sabbath day in somebody club. Those are daughters you're talking about. You might have to leave these people behind, but to do so, you know, like the book says, you have to leave mother, father, sister, brother, son, wife, daughter. It's for your growth. He told Abraham to leave, what was it, Mesopotamia? To leave Mesopotamia. Abraham didn't know if he didn't know where he was going or what was going to be on the other side. You just moving and being obedient. Because if Abraham had stayed there, who knows what would have befall him? The story with Jonah, off the top of my head, if I can remember, he was trying to be hard headed and not hearkening to what the Most High told him to go to Nineveh, and he ended up damn drowning in the ocean in the way. You know, you see what I'm saying?
He had that other type fear of y'all, but he also had the fear of what the people in Nineveh was gonna do to him.
Con.
And that's what I think that gets a lot of us. We think about what the people gonna do instead of what the Most High don't told us to do. Because at the end of the day, He said He will protect us, He will lead us and guide us. But if we're fearing what man is gonna say or what man's gonna do, that's gonna hinder what the Most High trying to do in our lives.
And that's big. And I know all of us here, right here in this little square, that can think of one thing right now that we are just lackadaisical on, that we probably have a little bit of fear in doing, or maybe we could be doing more of to increase our faith in that one area. I know I can, you know, even in what's going on in mainstream media today with our brothers today, and they're saying it. Listen, they were fearing what contracts gonna be dropped and who gonna say what about them and what bad light they're gonna be painted in and how much they might lose where they can maybe live in the finest things they living in right now, and or get dropped from this team or whatever it is. But when you move in that fear, that gonna force you to do what? Apologize to your enemies, right? That gonna force you to go back step and not follow what the Father trying to get you going this way, but backstep and stay married to your heathen wives. Backstep and take back what you said about you being the true people of this book. No, maybe that wasn't true. I, you know, because you're moving in fear of man and not faith in God. We're going to lose a lot. And the things that you lose, again, what we read before, they are tangible, they are temporal. They are temporal. This is not our kingdom. This is not our final resting place. It's not. In the wilderness, our people were moving in fear before we even got there. And that's why the Most High had us in the our people in the wilderness for so long, for 40 years, because they were moving in fear. Dang, we out here, we ain't got no chicken. And we had chicken when we was in Egypt, you know. Dang, dang, I don't have the nice little house. I can't cook on a stove. I gotta eat manna up moving in fear. And the Most High had so much better for us, but we couldn't see it with our carnal eyes. You know what I'm saying? This river, the river ain't the way. How are we going anywhere? You bring us out here to die? What you want us to do? Drown Moses? You know what I'm saying? What I'm supposed to do? Swim across that with my child and my donkeys? Fear. Fair. You know what I'm saying? The Most High will move mountains, part rivers, do what he will, as long as we are not filled with fear, excuse me, and we do what he tells us to do. We stay in the spirit, like you said, sis. Was it Galatians? In the fruits of the spirit, and increase our faith daily. If we pick one thing a day or one thing a week, even if it's one thing a month, that one thing that you need to increase your faith on to get rid of that fear, to overcome that fear, that's what we need to do. It is what we need to do. For some of us is doing more lessons, some of us is reading more to you know, to increase our flame and our fire. Okay, for some of us, whatever it is, okay, in our life, you have to have faith. Do not move into fear. Don't let anybody tell you. Don't let doubt, because that doubt is Satan on your shoulder telling you you can't, you ain't as good as her. You ain't gonna be as good. You don't have to be as good as her. You know, you don't have to be as good. Why are you comparing yourself to anybody that whatever it is? Oh, you ain't gotta do lessons this week. You know, you could wait till next week or something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, ain't nobody listening to your lessons anyways. You only got 2 views. You know what I'm saying? Fear. He wants to keep you in fear. So, you had something, sis? So,
Me?
yeah, no. So
Oh,
those were
I did,
some.
but it's okay.
Bring it out. Don't. So those were some of the examples that I had. Like I said, this was going to be really short. Those were just a few examples of what I had for getting over your fears and overcoming them, having the faith so you don't become salty like Lot did. You don't become bitter. You don't become it makes you irritable. If you're irritable, if you have hate towards your sister, your brother, you're resentful, you hostile, there's something there that you need to get rid of. Work on it. If you have it, just recognize it and work on it. Figure out what it is, pinpoint what it is, and kill it like a fat. Just rip it. You have to work on it. Chip away at it a little bit at a time. Okay. Okay. I'll pay this to the Most High. So that's what I had on just be overcoming your fears, faith over fear. And if nobody else has any other nuggets or precepts for us, we will close with that. And with that, my name is Nasia, and we will say Shalom.
Shalom.
Many nights, I coulda die. The same point, The trigger fly, but Jah is always by my side, so I know there's no need to hide. Running like you see the bike, no carry stripe. I never hype, I know it's clear inside. I run no more, I stand and fight.